Hello again, and welcome back to Scouching's 2019 NHL Draft Recap Series. Today we're going to be looking at the Dallas Stars, and the Dallas Stars are another team that traded a bunch of picks to take a run at the Stanley Cup this year and ultimately fell short. Through all of the trades, the Dallas Stars managed to have a first-round selection this year, and they went with Thomas Harley, who I thought was a bit of a reach at 18, but I honestly don't really mind the pick. I think in terms of offensive upside, he might have some of the brightest upside of any defenseman to go in the first round. He's an aggressive offensive player who has a great ability to pass the puck, although his decisions might need a bit of work. But he is starting from strong fundamentals, which I really like about Thomas Harley. He will need to choose better times to dive straight head-on into the offensive zone and put himself out of position. I caught him getting burned a lot, but this is a big bet that could really turn out really well for the Dallas Stars, especially when you consider what they've done with a player like John Klingberg. So he could turn out to be just an aggressive power play specialist that just ABs time with John Klingberg, but I do think there's an interesting player here. The Dallas Stars took quite a big break, and at 111th they took Samuel Scholl, who's a guy I haven't really heard that much of and seen that much of, so I don't really know what to say. This feels like a big bet in this range, and there were some players that were slipping through the draft that I probably would have looked at first, especially if I had already drafted a defenseman in Thomas Harley. But if you wanted a defenseman, I really would have looked at names like Semyon Chistikov, Kim Nuziainen, or Marshall Warren in this slot. But we'll see. I mean, it's 118th overall, so again, I don't know what you want to complain about. Then in 142nd, the Dallas Stars took the only forward they took in this entire draft and took Nicolas Porco. I never came away super impressed with him outside of his skating ability, but there are people in the OHL world who are big fans of his, so I think he might be more of a long-term project, but I've heard nice things, so there might be an interesting player there over time. I just never came away super impressed, and there wasn't a whole lot in the tracking work I did that really painted him as a potential steal in this range of the draft. And with 173rd overall, the Dallas Stars made their last pick of the draft and took a guy that I honestly really have no issue with being taken here. Ben Brinkman was a freshman in university who was a first-time draft eligible, which you usually don't see a tremendous amount of in any given NHL draft. But he did drive two-way play extremely well relative to his team, even if he didn't produce a ton of points. So if Brinkman was drafted with the expectation of being a pretty good two-way player who can just drive possession positively, that's not a bad bet to make in this range, and I really like the pick. I was never super high on Brinkman, but the fact that he drove two-way play relative to his team so well was really notable, especially for a freshman. So if you watch any Scouching report videos, you'll recognize the rating system we're using here. The number's going to indicate the overall potential of the draft picks this team made, and the letter grade's going to indicate the likelihood of reaching that potential for the class as a whole. And for the Dallas Stars, I'm pretty confident in a 2D. I think Thomas Harley has all the tools to be a really good top 4 defenseman with a lot of offensive upside, who might get burned in his own end a little bit more than you'd like. Outside of that, I'm not super thrilled with the picks they made in this draft, but someone like a Ben Brinkman might be a good complementary depth defenseman in both ends of the ice one day, and who knows with Porco and Scholl. I really don't know how to complain about those picks. However, it is perfectly reasonable to think that someone as risky as Thomas Harley might not end up putting it all together and might not reach that ceiling. So in that case, the Dallas Stars might not end with very much out of this draft class at all. But to swing as hard as they did in the first round, I really do respect that kind of an approach. So that's it for the Dallas Stars. The next video will be profiling the LA Kings. If you liked the video, you could hit all the buttons you see below me so that you never miss anything. If you really liked it, you could support us on Patreon, where you get access to spreadsheets for drafted and undrafted prospects, as well as private chat rooms and plenty of other goodies. Or you could pick up some merchandise from the Scouchwear shop. All the links are in the description below. So that's it, and I hope you join me for the next video where we profile the Los Angeles Kings.